So we'll first start with the Dallas Cowboys getting a huge overtime win against the New England Patriots. Dallas won the game by the score of 35-29. It was definitely one of the best games of week 6. And to focus on Dallas here, Dak Prescott was sensational in this game. He was able to connect with Ceedee Lamb on the game-winning touchdown. With the win, the Cowboys propel to 5-1 on the season. They are clearly one of the best teams in their division in the NFC East. They're one of the best teams in the NFC as a whole as well. And then to focus on New England definitely played Dallas tough. They were able to contain that two-headed monster in the backfield with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. But unfortunately, they just couldn't make the plays that needed to be made, and the Patriots slipped to 2-4 on the season, and they have lost all of their home games so far to start the season. So, Kevin, I'm going to pose a question to you. With Dallas winning this great week this matchup against the Patriots, just how impressive do you think Dallas can be moving forward? With the fact of the matter of them being at the top of not only the NFC East, but they are potentially one of the best teams in the NFC as well.
Dude, I called it at the beginning of the year when we were just talking about predictions of who would win the division. I said that Dak was going to have an MVP caliber year in terms of him coming back from the injury that he suffered last season. And he's doing just that. I mean, the team itself is performing and firing on all cylinders. I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, obviously, what comes to mind is Trayvon Diggs having, consecutive interceptions within the last 6 games. I believe he's up to 7 total, which is just insane. He's a one-man wrecking crew in terms of creating turnovers for his team. And then you have Dak Prescott lighting it up in the air, going for 445 and 3 touchdowns today. So it's not much of a shock that they're doing this successful, in my opinion, and they're only going to get better as people on their defensive side get back from injury. So it's just a matter of how high can they climb. Obviously, in terms of the matchup overall, the fact that this went to overtime was a little bit of a shock to me just because I did not expect New England to keep up at least this much, or should I say like throughout the entirety of the game, because it was like literally back and forth. It was, New England scores, Dallas scores, New England scores, and it kind of just went back and forth like that for a little bit. But then New England hit that cold streak in between the second and third quarter where they didn't score at all. So it looked like Dallas was running away with it until obviously Mac Jones was able to lead them down the field and kind of, get some scores on the board to keep this close. And I mean, shout out to Mac, man. The kid's playing at a very high level. He's playing it at a very consistent as well. I mean, doing whatever it is that he can to make this team better. And obviously, you have Damian Harris doing what he had to do with The Rock. So he scored he scored a touchdown. He had 101 yards on the ground. But overall, Dallas just turned out to be a little bit on the better side. If I'm not mistaken, Kyle, again, I know this is your team. It literally went sequence for sequence where it was Mac Jones throws a pick six to Trayvon Diggs on a tip ball. And like literally the next possession, he gets the ball and he just torches Trayvon for a beautiful chair route. And then obviously Kendrick Bourne just completely runs away with it for a 75-yard score. So it went back and forth in the fourth quarter within literally, I want to say 30 or 45 seconds, which is kind of crazy. But the game itself was great. Dallas is in a phenomenal position right now in the NFC. They're dominating teams that they need to. They're playing good quality teams as well and making sure that they're winning those teams. And outside of that week 1 loss against the defending Super Bowl champs in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that game was close as well. So I feel like this team is ready. They're only going to get better as the season progresses. I mean, Dak is just getting more and more comfortable and more consistent on the offensive end. So I'm not surprised they're here. I think they're going to continue this run. I mean, again, it just has to be a matter of consistency and staying healthy. As long as you feed Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard the rock, the play action will be there. But overall, not surprised at the outcome of this game. Definitely not surprised at the record this season.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think Dallas got kind of lucky in this game because at the start of the game, New England got off to a very hot start. They were able to score 14 points in the first quarter. And I believe they scored those 2 touchdowns within 8 plays. And when you look at the time of possession for both teams, when you just look at the difference in time management, Dallas possessed the ball for almost 40 minutes to New England's 26. It's almost a quarter disparity between time of possessions for both teams. And it was crazy that when you look at the other stats, like for example, Dak threw for 445 yards passing in this game. Mac only threw for 215. And as both offenses produced well for their teams, Dallas's offense was able to produce at a much higher clip. They had 567 total yards against New England today to New England's 335. When you look at some of these stats, it would say, oh my God, Dallas should win this game by 3 touchdowns. Just because when the stats are in that much favor of Dallas, you would just kind of assume that. But no, I thought New England played them very tough. And the reason why is that they were able to contain Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard as well as you can. I mean, as a whole, the Cowboys only rushed for 120 yards today, which is actually not that bad because when you look at both of those guys in reference to Zeke and Tony Pollard, those guys could easily go for 200 combined between both of them. So I thought New England did a very good job of containing them, but you're giving the ball to Dak, and Dak has been very good this year. Dak has been probably better than what I'm giving him credit for. The guy has 16 touchdowns to 4 interceptions and has about 1,800 yards passing this season already. So you got to give Dak a lot of credit. He made the plays that needed to be happen. And I thought coming into this game, I thought that Dallas had the edge. And despite this game going to overtime, which is probably not the best look for Dallas because New England's kind of an up and down team this year, but Dallas was able to make the plays that needed to be made in the most crucial moments of the game, and they were able to execute. I mean, Dallas is 5-1. They're clearly one of the best teams in the NFC. You could probably say the NFL to a larger extent as well. But I got to give credit to New England. You know, granted, I'm a ride or die New England fan. I know their record indicates that they're a 2-4 team, but this team is a lot better, in my opinion, than what their record currently states. They've had some really close losses. This one being another very close loss for them this season. But Dallas just keeps finding ways to win, man. And it's crazy because when you kind of look back at recent history, Dallas was always the team that found ways to lose games. But it seems like Dak Prescott is the perfect leader for this offense. You combine that with the 1-2 punch that they have with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, and then you got Ceedee Lamb on top of it with Amari Cooper. That's a tough team to stop. And I got to give Ceedee Lamb a lot of credit today. Man, he torched Jalen Mills today. Jalen Mills was mostly the guy in coverage against him, and he beat him twice on the 2 touchdowns that he got against New England. So Ceedee had a great game today. I believe he had like 8 catches for like 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the game-winning one. So, I mean, Dallas is a very good team to contend with. I mean, outside of that Bucs loss, which they damn near won, I mean, this team could honestly be 6-0 had it gone in their favor against the Bucs in week 1. But it's just kind of crazy that Dallas is this team that is just finding ways to win when in recent memory, it was the opposite. They were always the team that they would find a way to lose games when they thought that they had it in the bag, but that's just not the case this year. And Dallas, I don't know what else to say. They're really good, man. It's crazy for me to say that. And I know you mentioned Trayvon Diggs. That dude's going to get 10 touchdowns by week 10. I'm just convinced at it with this point because the ball just seems to find him. And he made the most of it today with that pick 6 against Mac. But, you know, all in all, a phenomenal game. I got to give Mac credit. He stayed poised after that pick 6 to Trayvon Diggs and just connected on Kendrick Bourne. But it's just they couldn't make the plays that needed to be made at the critical stages of the game. But Dallas was. Dallas made those plays. And that's the difference. But, you know, good win for Dallas. Patriots are still going through their growing pains with Mac. But I do think that the Patriots will be a more formidable team in the second half of the season. I think they just got to ride out this first half of the season with Mac's struggles here and there. But by and large, this was definitely one of the best games in week 6, in my opinion.